Howdy, folks. Here today with a video walking you through sort of how to create a research outline or an outline for a research paper, or really any paper. You can take what you learn here and apply it to anything. And so what I'm going to suggest is you open up a new document, make it formal, give yourself a header, give yourself a title, give yourself a title of the document so it's not Untitled Document number 732 or whatever. And then once you get this all set up, I'm going to ask you to pause. And we're actually not going to start our outline yet. What we're going to do is we're going to think through our outline. We're going to make sure that we have our brain kind of where it needs to be to get in outline mode. So on Mr. Restad's research resources, there's a button down here under the outline section for graphic organizer. So before you even start typing up your outline, I want you to try and fill out this piece of paper, either print it out or make a copy of it in your notebook. And what you're thinking through is, okay, what's my topic? Why is this topic important? What is background information I'm going to need to include to inform my audience? Are there any definitions that my audience might needs to know? For example, like if you're researching stem cells, telling people what stem cells are might be really helpful. And then what's something that I could use to kind of grab my reader's attention right at the beginning of the paper? We're just going to kind of brainstorm some ideas there. And then you're going to brainstorm your two perspectives, right? So in my case, I'm doing my example paper on gun control. So my perspective one might be why people want gun control, and perspective two is why people don't want gun control. And for each one of those perspectives, I'm going to try to just kind of think of what are the three main subtopics, there's three main arguments that this perspective has on why we want more gun control, and try to make them the strongest arguments that you can make, that this side can make. And same thing for down here. What are the three main reasons why people don't want gun control, right? And really what I'm starting to organize is like, okay, here's one section of my paper. And then I'm kind of thinking about, okay, what three paragraphs do I need to include into this section of my paper to fully develop and explain these people's best arguments for their own ideals. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to look back through my note chart maybe and think about, okay, what source could I use information from to back up ideas about this argument for this perspective, right? And so you might reuse a source once or twice, or you might have two sources in here to back up one idea. That's okay. All those are good things. But this is going to give some form and some structure and make sure that we know what we're talking about. Because if this takes you more than 10 minutes, you're either doing it wrong or you don't know enough about your topic, and you need to get back out there and do some more research and do some more reading and make sure you can fully understand, okay, here's one side of the story and here are their main arguments. Here's another side of the story, here are their main arguments. Here's why this issue is top important and controversial and what people need to know to get their heads around this modern world issue. Once you have that filled out, then let's actually start research or outlining. So what we're going to use to outline is this numbered list tool. It's really handy. It makes things organizing and adding and moving things really, really simple once you understand kind of the basic format of it. And so with your, right after your title, with your cursor back on that left-hand side of the screen, click on I like to use the arrow next to the numbered list tool, and then I like to use this particular one because it's got Roman numerals, letters, and numbers. And so the first thing that I'll do is I'm just going to outline or kind of get the sections of a paper down that I need to. And you know that the paper you're writing for my class needs to have 4 sections, not 4 paragraphs, 4 sections of a larger paper, right? So about 1 page each, 1 to 2 pages each. So I know I need to have an introduction. I need to have a side that explains supporters of gun control. I need to have opponents of gun control. And then I need a conclusion. And at the end, I just hit enter at the very end when I'm on the line, and that'll create a new bullet point because these are like not editable. I can't click on this and change this from a Roman numeral 4 to a Roman numeral 6, right? All right, so to help you out with that, I do have a sample outline, like here's what an outline looks like when it's all done. And I also have an outline template. And so you can see here are my 4 sections of the paper. Cool. And then I'm going to kind of come back through and fill in information that I need to in order to write, a successful, basically mini essay. If you think about this essay or this particular project as 4 smaller essays, it's a much less daunting than like one big 8-page paper, but I can write, 4 1.5-page papers. Like you can do that. It takes some time, but it's very doable. So I'm actually going to start outlining one of my perspectives. I'm going to skip my introduction, but you can take a look at my outline sample, which is on mrsdad.com and Google Classroom as well. So you can look at this sample outline to follow along to see like, oh yeah, here's the finished product. But we're going to jump to this perspective too. And so in order to do this, so I'll put my cursor at the end of supporters of gun control. And now we're going to learn a little bit about the numbered list tool. I'm going to hit enter, and enter gives me another Roman numeral. I don't want a Roman numeral, right? I want something that's going to be kind of nested underneath supporters of a gun control. So I'm going to press tab and see what that did. See how that not only moved this bullet point, but it changed all the other bullet points. Becomes really, really handy if I ever need to like switch something. Maybe I want to switch the order of these. I can just move those things really, really easily and nothing else changes, right? So back to supporters of gun control. So to move bullet points right, put your cursor right at the beginning of a bullet or a number, and I'm going to press tab. See how that moves it to the right? And then to move it back, I'm going to hold shift and press tab. You can also use these little clickers up here. All right, but I'm going to do supporters of gun control. And then I'm going to, for right now, I'm just going to type in overview. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do in my overview or my introduction to this perspective, but I usually like to do my intros last. And so then I'm going to take my first main argument, reduce mass shootings. I think that's one of the biggest arguments that people have against or for gun control is like, we just want people to stop shooting up schools and like malls and concerts and things like that. Like, let's try to reduce that number as much as we can. Another argument that they might have is the Second Amendment is finite, right? It says that we shall not infringe upon your rights to own guns, but that doesn't mean we can't regulate it in some way. So that's why like things like extra background checks or a licensing program wouldn't stop you from getting guns, but it might have a couple of checks along the way. And then our last one might be to follow other countries' lead. Cool. So those are like, if I was going to be writing a paper about people who want more gun control, these are the ones that I would probably include. I'd say these are their main arguments that they'd make in order to try and convince you that we should be passing gun legislation. So with those in place and taking a look at my graphic organizer, right, it should tell me, okay, I'm going to support this idea with this particular source. So I'll go to my note chart and I might go find the source. First one. All right. Oh, here we go. So supporters of gun control, people who want gun control. So this one right here. So I'm going to copy this note and I'm going to drop it in under the Second Amendment is finite. Paste it without formatting, so it looks like that. And then I'm going to make sure that I grab that in-text citation so I know that I'm remembering where this is coming from. And then, so if we take a look at my outline template, where I have a support citation as well as an explanation of how that support backs up the argument, I might just jot myself some brief notes to explain, okay, why am I using this quote to back up this particular argument? And that really starts to build the form of my paragraph really clearly, because I can see like, okay, here's what I'm going to start writing a topic sentence about. Then I'm going to transition to dropping in and introducing this quotation. And then I'm going to analyze this quotation and explain it to say, here's why people who believe this perspective think that this quotation means this, right? So I'm going to do a brief explanation. And I'm not going to type that up for you, but you guys can see the idea going on. And you can take a look at my sample outline where I kind of start to build on that. All right. If you have any questions, good luck. Obviously, go through this, outlining this entire section using the sample and the outline template, and integrating your own notes and your own research. One thing I will say is that you don't have to outline your conclusion. That's going to be kind of optional at this stage, and almost I'd rather have you hold off on that first, because I want you to truly write these two perspectives first. So if I'm talking about gun control, I really want to understand, why are people against gun control and why are people for gun control? And once I have those two things in my mind, then I make a decision and a final determination about what I believe, right? But I want you to consider these other two things first before you get to your perspective at all. All right. Good luck, folks. You can do this. Holler with questions.